So I'm Gretchen Fox, and I'm going to be leading this session today. To give you a brief background on me, I have a consultancy where I use earned, paid, and owned media holistically to help companies from startups to big brands become social businesses. And social marketing and social advertising are obviously a key component to that. Previous to starting my consultancy, I was the Vice President of Social Media at Live Nation Entertainment, and in that role, I created the social advertising strategy for the company. We were sort of dealing with the fact that we needed a way to scale to advertise 20,000 shows a year at the same time of being able to be customizable to each artist and their fans. Obviously, advertising, marketing to a teen pop fan is very different than a Fleetwood Mac fan. So in general, I try to look at ways and to be able to create sort of a simple solution or an approach to complicated issues. And I've done that today. We've all done a lot of work to try to figure out how we can bring takeaways that everyone that walks out of here, whether you're B2B, B2C, whether you're, a big brand or a small startup, a big budget or have a big budget or a small budget, that you can walk away and start making campaigns better immediately. So I sort of took a first stab at what I'm calling like a framework for social advertising. And I'd love to get you guys feedback on that as it is a first draft. Let's do a little thing where if everyone can grab their phone, and whoever is on Twitter, real quickly, just tweet something simple like hello, but then use 2 hashtags. Have them up there, social ad and AdTechSF. Just something simple, real quick, because once you do, we'll all be connected, right? Everyone in this room will be able to be connected with each other and connected with us immediately. And we'll have our own sort of little room for a conversation on Twitter. So that's a place that you can give me feedback on the framework for social advertising. And I've tried to do this a few times on a few panels, and it's more difficult than it seems. I will try to integrate the questions into the panel, but it is hard. So I'll write stuff down as stuff comes up from Twitter for these guys. Okay, so if everyone does that, and then you can see if you actually do a search using both hashtags, you can see what everyone else is saying in this room together. I did a welcome hashtag that tagged all of us. So you can also reply to that one tweet, and you will see, you'll be able to communicate with all of us at the same time. So hope you participate. Okay, so let's just jump in here. This is the framework for social advertising that I created that I was talking about. Really, all the successful advertising I've seen comes down to 3 things. How well you target, right? Define your audience. How well you connect with that audience. And 3, how well you convert that audience into a customer. So I'm going to sort of dive into all 3. First, target, right? Targeting isn't anything new for advertising, but there's always room for improvement. Here, this is maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I was checking my Facebook page, as we all do a million times a day. And out of these 9 ads, really only these 2 were well targeted to me. Congratulations if anyone in here is from ad tech. Very well done. So I thought to myself, like, how are we not, how is targeting still not doing a great job? So it's one thing that we still have to really focus on. And what's interesting for me is that the fact that technology is changing so fast, specifically in this stage. A company that I'm aware of called CitizenNet is doing some really interesting stuff with conversational tracking, where you put in your keywords for your sort of brand or your product, and they find out what other people are saying about your brand product and what other words they use, and then they use those other words to target and find people that are similar. They call that affinity targeting. They told me last week that they've seen affinity targeting outperform that core audience targeting, which is really amazing. Sophisticated approaches. And then Facebook, of course, has rolled out their custom audiences, and now recently lookalike audiences, and then their retargeting platform, Facebook Exchange, which Adam and Ryan are going to do a deep dive with you and share specifically how to use that type of targeting to get great results with your social advertising campaigns. So once you've really focused on step one and you've nailed your targeting, the next step is to connect with the fan. And this is something that is very unique to social advertising and somewhere that I see a lot of companies really miss the mark. For example, it's important to understand the platform that you can find your audience and then understand, I have these in reverse order, sorry. Product comes next. You need to really think about how people use the product. And that's what I mean by advertisers aren't thinking through that. This is an example on Twitter where Cisco did a really great job, right? People go to Twitter, they are reading their tweet stream, and they're searching for stuff. I go there, I search for social media every day, see what other people are saying. So they leveraged how people are using this product. And then the third step is use content in a way that is how people are using the product. So, for example, Cisco used hashtag, and usually people click on the first hashtag or the first link in any post. So they did the Internet of Everything, which is interesting, so I followed that to the next tweet. Then once I clicked on the Internet of Everything, it led me to this blog post. I get to the blog post. Well, now I'm exactly where they want me, at their page where they can start converting me into a customer. But had they started off with the message that they have on their blog post telling me how their product is really great to solve all these problems for what they're calling the Internet of Everything, if that's what they had tweeted, I would have read right past it. But the fact that they use hashtags to breadcrumb me to their site, I got to their site and then I was looking for their information, right? So you need to really think through how you use these platforms as a consumer, and you want to make sure that you're creating content in that same vein to be able to connect with your audience. And the third thing is convert. So I thought this was a really good example of a conversion strategy. So I got this really good-looking, well-targeted ad on LinkedIn, and once I clicked on it, and it was something I'm interested in, the points I want to make here, and this is another place where a lot of marketers miss the boat, is first the message. You see how the future of analytics is replicated in the landing page. So it says the future of local insight. So it's already connecting the dots. How many times do you get served an advertisement and you go and they drop you to a homepage of a site and expect you to go searching and finding something? Or, they take you somewhere and you have no idea where to find what you were looking for. And that happens all the time. So you really want to make sure that your advertisement and the place you send people mirrors each other so that they can feel like they've come to the right place. And the second part of this is offer, which this one is really smartly done, right? They said, here's free information for your email. One thing to really consider is that and I was looking for information, so this really fits in with what I was looking for, and it's free. The one thing that's really important that I think a lot of people miss on too is the fact that they just asked me for my email. They didn't send me there and then ask me to, buy a really expensive product from them or sign up for a subscription. They just asked for my email. Well, then they have my email and they can remarket to me and move me up that conversion funnel. Social marketing, social advertising is such a windy, slow conversion funnel often when you're at the very beginning of the funnel. And it's important to really try to move people along just to that next step. So this was a great next step. It's a lowest barrier to entry for them to be able to get my email address. And the second is really the call to action. And it has that big orange button to sort of engage and download that and give them my address. So I just wanted to show you guys, if advertisers would follow these 3 steps and use it as a framework, that you will be able to improve your campaigns immediately. And I'm looking for your feedback, especially as we go through the rest of this panel and as you go through the rest of the day and then on, that I can get your feedback on the types of advertisements you're seeing and where we can sort of improve this model so that everyone can have a framework or a sort of system to approach social advertising. And then we're going to move now to Dan, who's going to sort of take a step up and show you more global research, what's going on in the space, and then do a sort of dive into Twitter best practices. So, Dan.
Thank you, Gretchen. My name's Dan Beltramo. I run ad effectiveness product leadership at Nielsen. That spans digital and TV. This is sort of a two-part presentation that I'm going to do, relatively short. The first part is based on some research that we did among advertisers and agencies and how they're using social media. All of the data is available online, so I've just hit 2 or 3 slides on it. And then we'll do a little bit of a deep dive into Twitter, one of the social media companies with whom we're working very closely right now. So everybody is using social media, and I found this pretty amazing. When we went out and surveyed advertisers and agencies and asked them, how many of them are using some free form of social media, 90% of advertisers said they're using a free form of social media. 75% also pay to use social media, so they're spending real money there. And probably the most interesting number on the whole chart to me was the 0 there at the bottom, which was nobody is not using social media. So that was among our audience, which was generally larger advertisers, either national or regional, but so it wasn't small business, but still that was a very strong statement, extremely high penetration there. And they're also spending more on it. So 64% of the advertisers that we surveyed said they're going to spend more on social media next year. And if you kind of average it out here on the next chart there, it looks like there'll be about a low double-digit increase in spending on social media next year from advertisers. So, definitely they're all already doing it, and most of them are going to be spending significantly more money next year. It's also, social media right now as it stands is pretty much always integrated with some other form of advertising. 2/3 of the people say that it's integrated with online advertising when it runs, so there's some other form of display or video or whatever going on when the social media is running. And then most of the time, more than half of the time, there's offline advertising running with social media. That could be print, TV, whatever, but social is definitely being integrated with other forms of advertising. And then this was also fairly interesting to me and might be a little bit reflective of the audience of the survey, but when we asked what the objective of the social media that advertisers, what was the objective for these advertisers, it primarily was a branding objective. It was much less of a direct response type objective like there might be for their search advertising. And then we went on to say, well, advertisers, we're in the metrics business, what kind of measurement do you want for that? And it turns out what advertisers want relative to their social media is metrics that pertain to their offline measurement and and media measurement that they've seen before. And so those types of measures of success are sales generated, obviously, brand lift as well. What's being provided by most publishers are click-through rates and views. So if you're selling social media, you want to try to measure it the way the advertisers understand it. So quick summary of that report and a link to it there at the bottom. More advertisers are investing in social media. It's primarily a branding platform, and brands want relevant metrics of success, such as brand lift. So now I'll do the other half of the presentation, which is a deep dive into Twitter. We've been working with Twitter for quite a while now. And we've measured many campaigns that they've run, and what we found is that promoted tweets do drive stronger message association. So when people are exposed to a promoted tweet, their message association is 22% higher than when they're not exposed to a promoted tweet. Brand lift is also amplified with promoted tweets based on frequency. So there is increasing brand favorability the greater the exposure to tweets. And this just compares one tweet to either 2 or 3 tweets. So how do you make Twitter work for you? A couple of key things. One, you want to tap into the interest graph. This is not just about advertising to your followers. You can extend that audience and extend your reach quite dramatically. You want to use rich media, pictures, embedded video. This encourages a lot of retweeting. We see that expands the campaign. You want to make sure that you're using their systems to measure the earned media aspect of your program. That's one of the best parts of Twitter, is you can capture that earned media, which you can't do on a lot of other forms of media. and measure it. TV tie-ins, Twitter has obviously made a huge push to associate itself with TV. People are now starting to understand that. So, include hashtags in the TV portion of your campaigns, or run very concurrently the Twitter with your TV or offline promotions. And then this is probably the coolest part, is the real-time marketing and the real cutting edge of social media, which is where you're crafting messages based on current events. The best example recently was during the blackout of the Super Bowl, when Oreo actually put out advertisements that referenced the blackout while the blackout was happening. And so that, to me, is sort of the exciting front end of social media. So just one quick case study. Porsche used this kind of format last year when they introduced their 911 for 2012. They used promoted tweets with integrated hashtags, and then they used a lot of rich media with integrated photos, and particularly the video. And what that did for them was it drove 300% brand lift, and it increased followers by 600% on the day of the launch. And that's 600% increase relative to the trailing 7 days. So, very measurable results. You can measure it. Porsche was happy, worked well for everybody. So that's my portion of the presentation. I'll turn it over to Ryan. There you go.
Hello. I'm Adam Burke, actually. I'm the president and part of the founding team of AdRoll. And this is Ryan Bonificino, the VP of Digital Strategy at Alex and Ani. We'll talk a little bit about Facebook, and particularly Facebook Exchange. I'll kind of give a little bit of an overview, and then Ryan and Alex and Ani were kind of an early adopter of Facebook Exchange kind of right when it came out. So we'll do a bit of a deep dive into the actual experience that they had with that product. First off, so those of you who are not familiar with AdRoll, we're the most widely used retargeting platform. A little over 6,000 active advertisers at the moment in April, and we kind of have taken a SaaS-like approach, so have smaller advertisers using the platform in a kind of a self-service manner, all the way up to big brands, Fortune 500 companies and agencies, with using a more hands-on approach, leveraging our account management team. So before I dive into Facebook and Facebook Exchange, I do want to ask a couple quick questions. How many people have used Facebook ads in the past? And then keep your hands up if you found that to be a strong performing performance channel for you. Okay. How many people have used Facebook Exchange? And how many people have found that to be a strong performing performance channel? Yeah, okay, so almost 100% on the latter question, and probably about single-digit percentages on the first question. So let's talk a little bit about why that is. Why has historically, we talk a lot about the social media paradox. As we were trying to get involved and figure out ways to apply our platform to Facebook, this is a Forrester statistic, but Forrester found that 48% of shoppers found retailers and products on social media sites. So we'll give Facebook a like for that. But on the other side of the equation, it has historically been very bad at taking advantage of that discovery and driving to conversion. So the other side of the paradox is actually less than 1% of purchases were actually influenced by Facebook. So I know we all regret there is no dislike button, but we'll have to make our own in the case of this PowerPoint. So why is that the case? Because historically speaking, the standard ad formats that Facebook made available to target audiences on Facebook based on their data were very good at upper funnel, at awareness, at targeting people based on their interests and social graph and who they are. And they're very good at creating awareness and so forth, but they lack the component of demand fulfillment. And the reason why they lack that component is because of all of the data that Facebook has, the one type of data that they lack is intent. Google has a lot of intent, right? They have this magic box that everybody in the world goes to and types in exactly what you want to buy, exactly where you want to travel, and so forth, or what kind of vacation you want to go on, and that type of data is the most powerful data against which to match advertising. The fact that I like jelly beans and Michael Bolton, which is true isn't as helpful to drive conversion data, but it is a good proxy for the types of products that I might be interested in. So this intent data, which now Facebook, through Facebook Exchange, has allowed advertisers to bring to their media, is what is driving performance on Facebook. So this is what is typically called retargeting. I'm sure in this audience people are very familiar with this. People go to your site, they shop around, they don't make decisions right away, they price compare, they get distracted, they'll come back and do it later. Retargeting takes the site's intent data. The user didn't type in a search box that they're interested in buying something, but they showed intent by having visited a site, having looked at a particular product or category of products, and so forth. And then you can use that data to target ads around the web. Now, you can take that data to target on Facebook through a qualified Facebook Exchange platform. So AdRoll, and there's a handful of others. There's a web page at Facebook PMD Center that has a list of FBX qualified partners. So what have we found compared to standard retargeting? So we've been doing standard retargeting for years. Facebook Exchange is a new channel. People love retargeting. Everybody's adding it. It's kind of usually amongst the marketing mix, kind of a top performing channel. Now we've got this big inventory source. How does it perform? So here's kind of this is data based on a study of 468 advertisers that were kind of early coming out of the Facebook Exchange beta and using both standard display and Facebook Exchange at the same time. So we found that, not surprisingly, Facebook has huge inventory. The CPMs are very efficient. Overall, compared to a standard retargeting campaign on the web, CPMs that were 82% lower on Facebook Exchange than standard web. That netted out to a CPC that was 70% lower. And that's despite having a click-through rate that is not as strong as standard web, and that relates closely to the fact that on Facebook you can reach the same users a large number of times, but when you're doing retargeting across the entire web, you can actually get a slightly better reach. So you're kind of getting a great opportunity to reach a certain set of the audience. You're going to be able to reach them multiple times. Click rate's going to be lower, but because of the efficiency of the inventory, CPCs, ROI, CPA are going to be great. And then really interestingly, and this was a big surprise for us, and it's actually, we're starting to see the numbers change a bit, but we found actually very little overlap in the campaigns. So of those advertisers that were using both channels, most of the audience was incremental. So if they were reaching a certain audience on standard display, adding Facebook Exchange, aside from 8.3%, was incremental to that audience. Now, I should note that we're starting to see that number increase, and the hypothesis is that as Facebook was a new platform, advertisers were kind of dipping their toe in with test budgets, and therefore they weren't overlapping as much. That being said, we're still not finding that the performance of adding one channel cannibalizes from the other channel. So still really complementary and incremental programs to one another to reach a larger set of the audience. So I'm going to hand over to Ryan to talk a little bit specifically about how Alex Anani has used the platform in FBX.
Good afternoon, everybody. I came out from New York actually for the AdRoll party last night, which was a roller disco party. Highly recommended for next year. Alex Anani is a lifestyle brand in Rhode Island, a small state in the country. And we're known for our single charm bangles, which you'll see here stacked up. This is the fashion piece of the company. Company was started, I'd say that the company really got started 3 years ago when it went from one store in Rhode Island to 30 today. With 1,500 wholesale accounts, 700 employees, and we hit the $80 million mark at the end of last year for 2012 revenue. We've got a pretty ambitious next generation strategy when it comes to all things tech, all things digital, both social and e-commerce, and we're on an e-commerce platform called Magento. When we built the platform and decided to implement some social strategies, we asked our strategist at Fashmark, Kristen, who's in the audience here, what this retargeting world was all about. And she did a kind of a reverse engineering of the market and came up with AdRoll. And we learned about on-site retargeting, and then we learned about social and what social and FBX had to do with the concept of retargeting. So as a company, we make a lot of products. We make a lot of SKUs. And what you saw on the first page, that's our bread and butter. That's what keeps us around. That's what gets our products on celebrities and tastemakers. The way we generate traffic and new eyeballs is because of our connection to other brands, and other brands as in the San Francisco Giants or the U.S. Army or your sorority or your school. So we make products, single wire bangles, that have a charm of each of those relationships. We're able to use Facebook to gather information about who it is that we'd like to get that product in front of. So if you're a fan, if you're a Giants fan, you're going to get an ad because you've been on Alex and Ani, and we've identified you as somebody who's really looking at the San Francisco Giants bangle. So this was all good and fun when we had our in-house group just targeting people on Facebook, but we didn't realize the power until we came across this amazing concept at AdRoll, which was, again, working with FBX directly. So we wanted to take advantage of what we believe to be a problem we'll never have again, which was at the end of the year, our demand was greater than our supply, and we're a rapidly growing company. We're up there on the Inc. 500 list for retail. Fingers crossed for #1 this coming year. We had one thing to do throughout the holidays, which was get everybody ready for Q1. We just come off a round of financing from JH Partners out here, private equity firm, consumer focused, and we had to spend money, but spend money smart. So going into the holiday, we've got inventory back to even levels at Q1. Our big initiative was to prep for Valentine's Day. So that's exactly where this came in. So our target audience is it's female only. If you look at the intended audience, it's men purchasing for women, or it's women directly. So we've got an 18 to 40, pretty wide age range. We've got call it tweens all the way up to grandmothers. We've got something for everybody. So what we did, going back to the affinity concept I mentioned with universities, sororities, your favorite MLB team, et cetera, we were able to segment. And we segment based on the behavior, and this was all based on the recommendations from AdRoll with our on-site data that they were tied into. So around these Valentine's Day type holidays, we did bursts, and the bursts were very fantastic, very successful. And what we thought was really unique about AdRoll was their ability to bring in dynamic creative. So outside of grouping categories into buckets, feeding in creative for the MLB collection, we're able to specifically tailor the exact product to match up against what type of affinity or what type of emotional connection that the consumer had to any particular brand that wasn't Alex and Ani. And once we capture them, it's not just that one product or that one charity that we do a bangle for that they have an emotional connection to. It's that $33 price point, but our average cart is 3 times that. So that's our bread and butter for demand generation. It's getting somebody because of their connection to somebody else, some other organization, and then coupling that with the ability to bring them into high fashion. So Adam's going to go through some of our results.
Cool, yeah. Good segue on the dynamic creative. That's been a big boon that we've found on Facebook because there's such high impression volume, you can end up with a frequency problem, and so fresh creative becomes a really big challenge. And so using dynamic creative, where we can pull specific product imagery from the site, resize it for Facebook ad format, we found that to oftentimes double click-through rate and therefore cut CPC in half. And we'll talk through some of the specific results here. And I think that's a product of, obviously, when you're doing specific products and product recommendations based on what that user viewed on the site, it's going to be a more personalized, more targeted, more relevant ad, but also just having a programmatic, automated way to keep the creative fresh and rotating through new imagery unto itself helps performance. So let's talk about some of the results now. So Alex and Ani use both static ads and dynamics. We'll talk about the static ads first. So click-through rate compared to standard display, as we talked about, was quite a bit lower, high impression volume, but the CPM, once again, 83% or so lower than their standard display campaign. So that netted out to a CPC savings on Facebook Exchange compared to their standard display campaign of 62%. And then looking at dynamic liquid ads, it's the name of our dynamic ad product. Facebook Exchange liquid CTR was actually 19% higher than their standard web ad. So getting a better click-through rate on Facebook than standard display. CPM, once again, 85% more efficient. resulting in a CPC that was just gangbusters, 88% better than their standard retargeting campaign on the web. So, overall, as their performance marketers, and that's the beauty of performance marketing, when the numbers speak, you can grow into it. So, whereas Facebook started out from 0% of their budget, and they were having a lot of success with standard retargeting. Despite that, it grew to 75% of the overall, and the CPA on Facebook is actually half of the CPA they were already seeing in a very successful retargeting strategy across the web. So, one key takeaway, Facebook Exchange, there's this moment in time right now. Sheryl Sandberg on the last earnings call mentioned that there are 1,300 advertisers using Facebook Exchange. In the grand scheme of things, that's nothing. So there's really a moment in time where there's kind of a pricing discrepancy where not a lot of people are in there bidding yet. So I would strongly encourage folks to dip your toe, see how it goes, and get those learnings in early. That is all for me.